Jeez, how you gonna name my only grandbaby after somebody who's in jail? Yeah, I was a receptionist in the mayor's office. When I say we got out the mud, we got out the mud. Congress would rather go home than to do anything that makes this president look bad. That's
so scary.
There's not a single Democrat I would do that for. I was also outspent by $26 million. We were virtually left to dry right after the primary. It could have been a different story, and that's a lesson learned. We're at a point where people are saying both parties are the same, which has been conversation for decades, so we should take note of that.
You know, we want a governor in Wisconsin that is going to be like, you know, for the people. And the big question I have, and I'm sure other people have, like, are you going to run?
So let me start by saying I am...
Welcome to Making Progress, a podcast where we discuss and discover what it means to find success in the journey of making change. I'm your host, Myra, Reneé.
On today's episode of Making Progress, Myra sits down with Mandela Barnes, former Wisconsin Lieutenant Governor, grassroots organizer, and the man who came within 1% of defeating Ron Johnson in 2022. Barnes went from being a receptionist in the Milwaukee mayor's office and worked his way all the way up to becoming Wisconsin's first Black lieutenant governor. In this candid conversation, Mandela pulls no punches about the current state of politics, why he believes Democrats have lost touch with everyday people, and what it really means when folks say both parties are the same. Let's dive right in.
All right, so you're named after Nelson Mandela,
I am.
So tell me a little bit about that. Like, did your parents foresee like something in you, or kind of had some hopes of you going into?
Well, you know, I guess my dad was super ambitious.
Yeah,
you could put it that way. And you know, originally I was gonna be named after him, but I'd never gone by his name. You know what I mean?
Okay.
And it was just growing up. Obviously, you know, nobody else had a name like that, and I didn't appreciate it when I was young. Certainly appreciate it now, but my dad was a big fan of Nelson Mandela. My grandmother, his mother, was not. She's like, how you gonna name my only grandbaby after somebody who's in jail?
Oh.
So that was her thought process. Like, she just wasn't as in tune with Nelson Mandela's fight to end apartheid in South Africa, but my dad was all in. And you know, he was obviously union member, as I talk about all the time, but the UAW, the union he was a part of, was also very active in the anti-apartheid movement.
Mm-hmm.
And so there were a number of places for him to draw some inspiration from when it came to naming his first and only son.
Wow. An only son. Do you have siblings?
No, it's just me. I'm an only child.
Ah,
I'm an
only child over here too.
I'm so delighted that you're surprised. You know,
I am surprised.
Exactly. Can you say that louder? I don't come across as an only child.
But what do only
I'm
child?
a well-adjusted individual in this community.
But okay, how do only children come across though?
There's a stigma.
There is a stigma. But I want to know what you think or what you hear.
I think we're glorious, but
I think so too.
You know, and other people just can't handle it. Other people are just like, oh yeah, you an only child. It's like, all right, well, I didn't grow up around all those people like you did.
Yeah,
you know, I had a chance to, you know, flourish.
And I also think too, we kind of have to know how to be independent and
got to figure it out.
Figure
it's
things
so
out.
much having to figure it out, because you know, parents, like if you're a first child, it's sort of the same story. You know, parents figure it out. But if you're like a second child, your parents have been through it before. They know what to expect. But as an only child, it's like, okay, well, maybe this will work.
Yeah. No, it's
a lot of cross fingers.
Yep. Yeah. And I think too, like, I used to always look at my friends in school that had like all these siblings. And I used to always think if anyone messes with them, they have like their siblings or like their their cousins or like a really big family. System. Right. And I was like, no, I got to be smart because I don't have, it's just me. I have to be smart.
It's just me. And I am also only grandchild on both sides. I have no first cousin. I don't have any first cousin.
Wow.
I know. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I was alone a lot.
Yeah. But not so alone now, I feel like, because you...
And the wild part is, like, I really appreciate my solo time. Like, I like being around people for sure. But my personal time, just being able to be by myself, is just what I'm used to. So I'm happy to have it.
Yeah. I'm the same way. Like, I feel like I love going to, like, gatherings and talking to people. And then when I get home, I'm like, you know, I need quiet, peace, you know, to recharge from all of that energy.
Oh, yeah. You have to. You
Yeah.
have to. I say the same exact thing. Like sometimes I feel like I have an interaction or a word quota.
Yeah.
But all right, I have said this many words. I have processed this many words. I have to relax. I have to recharge. I can't take in another sentence.
Yeah. No, it's
Yeah.
true. I don't know if men get this, but I know like sometimes I'll get like the smiling lip muscles
Oh,
that hurt. Or
yeah.
do you get that?
Yeah.
Do men?
It'll
Okay, I
happen.
always feel like it's like a woman thing. Like we always have to
No, it's
feel
real.
like we have to smile
And
all the time.
You
and-
are working muscles, so it
Yeah.
causes exhaustion too.
It does.
You are working muscles. Like it takes energy to do that.
Wow. So you're from Milwaukee.
Born and raised.
Still
Live in Milwaukee.
Still live there. Yes. And
Yep.
mom was a school
Yep, she's a teacher.
teacher.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, luckily I never had her as a teacher. But I will say my mother growing up, I did earn points. My mother was apparently a cool teacher. I have friends that I made in high school because my mom was their teacher.
Wow.
Yeah. They're like, oh yeah, you Miss Barnes, son. All right. And like
Wow.
I still have friends to this day that I met because my mother was their teacher
Wow.
and they had a good experience.
Does she still teach?
No.
Okay, she's retired
It would have
now.
been bad if she was not a cool teacher. They would have taken it out on me. And I was
Oh,
an only
yeah.
child. Wouldn't have had anybody step up for me.
You wouldn't.
It would have just been me
Would have
having
been
to
just
deal
you.
with it.
So when did you decide that you wanted to go into politics? You were like about 25 when
So
you
yeah, I
first
was
started.
25 when I first got
It's
elected.
really young.
I was young,
Yeah.
for sure young. So college, started college 2003, got involved, student government, NAACP, other organizations. And by 2004, Barack Obama was at the DNC giving that speech. And I talk about this all the time. And I was like, okay, all right, this seems cool, seems interesting. Like I knew who my elected officials were. My dad take me to vote every single time.
Yep.
But when he gave that speech, it was like something was different. I went to study broadcast journalism, media communications. A minor was sociology. Yeah. My high school actually had a really solid broadcast journalism program.
Wow.
I believe they still have it. When I went back to visit in 2019, they had just gotten all new equipment. And so, I would love to see more resources put into programs like that, especially in a changing media environment. Like we need people who can effectively communicate and who can
Yes.
also be able to adapt to get the right information across to people. But that's where I thought my life was going to land me. But finishing school in 2008, there was a chance like no other to be a part of this historic campaign. So I ended up as a field organizer. I wasn't working on the Obama campaign. I thought I was going to be, but it was almost like a little bait and switch. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine because it worked out. It worked out. Like the way it was advertised was, get in on the campaign.
Yeah.
And ended up on a congressional race in Louisiana, Northwest Louisiana. But honestly, I'm glad it worked out that way. If I was on the Obama campaign as a field organizer, I might have got, lost in the mix. But being on this race, I knew the candidate. I actually just talked to the guy who was my campaign manager. I just talked to him yesterday, just going over. So I was able to build closer relationships with people who had been, practitioners in politics. And I got to ask questions. I got to, be curious. I also got to have a lot of independence on that race.
Right.
And so I kind of got to do my own thing when it came to organizing, which was something I would not have gotten if I was working on the presidential. And so I'm incredibly grateful that it worked out the way that it did. And so that was 2008. Going in 2009, I moved back to Milwaukee and worked my way up. I was a receptionist in the mayor's office.
Okay, I didn't know this.
Yeah, I was a receptionist in the mayor's office. When I say we got out the mud, we got out the mud.
Wow. So you've just been like in every. So talk about that. So you're the receptionist in the mayor's office.
Receptionist in the mayor's office. Met a few people along the way, and all credit to Mayor Barrett's staff who they were like, we don't want to stop you here. Right. Like, but we need somebody to be the receptionist because we've been trying to fill this position for a long time.
Wow.
And given the fact that you just got back to Milwaukee, you may want to meet some people. And we are okay with that. If you can do this through the end of the summer, which would give us time to find somebody and would also give you an opportunity to make connections that you didn't have. And I did that. And the rest is sort of history.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's an amazing journey. And I think to like for you to be so young starting off. I mean, you just don't hear about politicians in general starting, or maybe we just don't hear the backstory, but I feel like it's the typical kind of, white male, older, wealthy. Yeah. And so,
family name.
Yeah.
All kinds of stuff. I didn't have those things going for me. Still don't. But I had a chance to, I wouldn't have it any other way, because when you put in the real work, you get to meet so many people along the way. And you get to learn so much along the way. If nothing else, has been an incredible learning opportunity for me. And you don't get that if you buy your way into a seat. You don't get that way if it's, some level of nepotism, right, involved. And granted, you can learn from your family members as you watch them. But this is a journey I've been able to appreciate so much more, knowing and thinking about the independence of it all. And when I say independence of it all, I do not neglect the fact that I would not have gotten anywhere on my own. I've always been able to have a solid foundation, solid team around me.
Yeah.
My parents are just ready to be signed up for whatever.
I love that.
I have my friends who I still got friends from high school, right? Like I'm very proud of that fact too. People that I've known since ninth grade, we're still in a group chat together.
Wow.
Right. And I just ran into one of my buddies this past weekend, somebody I was in kindergarten with. And we still hang out.
Wow.
It's one of those situations. Like if he texts me, it's not weird. Like we are in regular communication.
Yeah.
And I know not everybody is blessed and fortunate to have those sort of relationships. And that's one of the things, I value the most. Right. Like if I call Tim, like he'll pick up, right? It won't be like, oh, it won't be like, what's going on here? Right. Like if he called me.
Yeah.
So I think that I feel like a lot of people are losing those sort of connections.
Yes.
And whether it is, for personal, professional reasons, I think that it hurts us all when we lose those sort of, organic sort of relationships. Like these are people, regardless of what I'm doing in my life, at any point, they're going to be there.
Right.
It won't matter. Like none of, like they don't treat me like some politician. They treat me like another dude in a group chat.
I think that's what makes you so unique in politics and also in Wisconsin, is that you are so down to earth. You make those connections and you have been here for so long. And so it's just like you're relatable.
Yeah.
And there's that connection to the people that you serve.
And so, and this is not cast aspersion on anybody, but it feels like some people like really, really need it. Like when they get into office, it like it's something that's been missing, and this brings some sort of fulfillment, and also brings about some level of a lot of like hierarchy that they can't do without, or assume that, okay, I'm at this level now, which means everybody else is at this level. That's not how this should work. This can't be. This shouldn't be used to fill some void.
Right.
We see what happens when that is the case. Case in point, the president. Right. Like these people who have something to prove, who get to a place and feel as if this is we're in some sort of monarchy. They feel some sort of royalty about the position they're in, and it just shouldn't be that way.
Right.
Like you are some regular dude, you are some regular woman, you are some regular person.
Right.
If you were to take the title off and we were to airdrop you into a random community, you are going to have a hard time.
Right.
You are not going to be able to navigate.
True.
You might not find your way out.
Right. It's the truth.
Yeah.
Do you feel like we are right now, with the state of things, with our current president right now, do you feel like we are in a monarchy?
It is
right now? Because a lot of people are like, no, it's not that we're headed to dictatorship. We are, with some of the things that have happened, we are in a dictatorship right now.
So I would say, to that point, and it's not even to be alarmist, it's just to be a realist about the situation. Like these things, it's not like a light switch, right? Like it's not like there's a descent into fascism. There is a descent into, we've been experiencing an oligarchy for quite some time, just given the
Mhm.
influence of money in politics. And so
That's a great point.
and how few people have as much control as they have over our decision makers, things that should be common sense to anybody. If you were to go out into the community and say, hey, what should your government be doing for you, is wildly different from what your members of Congress,
Yeah.
so often members of state legislature are doing, because there are other considerations that people have. And money in politics is ultimately going to be the destruction of us. It's why we've
Yep.
gotten to this place right now where we're talking about a dictatorship, where people are afraid to speak out. Columbia University is paying $200 million. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? This attack on institutions, the media. This man
Yeah.
is filing lawsuits against legacy media institutions, Fox News included.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
Rupert Murdoch. Well, Rupert Murdoch included, which
Mhm.
essentially same thing,
Mhm.
right? Like these are institutions, however you look at the media, across the spectrum, that are trembling in fear about what they
Yeah.
should write on, what they should report on. And if there is no freedom of press, then we've already
Right.
waged an assault on First Amendment.
Yep.
That's effectively gone. So think about, if you're not a legacy institution, think if you are some student who is just trying to graduate, but does understand social justice, does understand right and wrong in society. Who is that person? Like, why would that person even dare to speak up if there is the threat of severe retribution that will impact their entire
Mhm.
life around the corner? And that's what we're seeing right now. And, shout out to Harvard for, going tit for tat.
Yes.
Go tit for tat,
Yes.
right? And
Yep.
look at me. Never thought I'd be saying, shout out Harvard.
I know.
I mean, it's not like they haven't done it before historically. Credit where credit is due. But in this instance, we need a Harvard to speak up, because
Yes.
I went to an HBCU, 6,000 students, right? There are so many other institutions just like that.
Yeah.
And if a Columbia University can be cut off at the knees like that, can bend at the will of a tyrannical president, then what hope do these HBCUs have?
Right.
And if there is an attack on diversity in general, I'm not even going to say DEI, an
Right.
attack on diversity,
Right.
an attack
Mhm.
on the very fabric of the society,
Right.
an attack on what makes this country properly function,
Mhm.
then you have to expect that an HBCU, so aptly named, is going to be in the crosshairs at some point.
Right.
So,
Oh yeah, very soon. I mean, I'm surprised it hasn't already happened.
For sure.
But I think that's what it's gearing towards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and it just it makes me sick. It makes me frustrated. So when legacy institutions, be it the
Yeah.
media, legacy institutions, be it higher education, if they are paying the price because they dared, and these places weren't even challenging the president. They just did something the president didn't like, or the people around the president didn't like, and they're paying a price for it.
Right.
That we're, the word democracy itself, and it's a tough message to get across to people too. And I go back and forth
Yeah.
about this. During my campaign in 22, I would talk
Yeah.
very openly about, this is a fight for our democracy, but that's not a message that resonates with everyday people because
Yeah.
of what people's lived experience is right now.
Right.
Cost of living,
Yes.
affordability. Before we started recording, we were talking about the
Yeah.
cost of living, home prices.
Yeah.
We're talking about price of groceries. We're talking about people losing their jobs. We're talking
Yeah.
about people who are dealing with every sort of situation in this country on a negative end.
Right.
If that is what democracy has provided for them in their quality of life, then it makes it easy for a person to disregard the threat of losing democracy. Because
Yeah.
if things are already bad, like, all right, well, maybe it'll just be bad for everybody else then. Now you'll know,
Right.
now you'll experience life as I
Right.
experience life. And you can't blame a person for feeling that way. So one, for anybody who's in the pro-democracy space, it's important to understand that there is not a functioning democracy unless people have their needs met.
Right.
Unless we meet this moment as a Democrat, like if we would have more properly met the moment, then the threat of Donald Trump would not have
Right.
even been an issue.
Right.
The threat of our democracy being destabilized would not even be an issue, because people would be able to point and say, well, my quality of life has improved, or I'm not worried about getting sick and going to a doctor, worrying about this bill. I would not have to, people wouldn't have to worry about foregoing large scale operations that would quite frankly keep them alive because they don't want to look at that price tag. Mm-hmm. They don't want that surprise bill. Mm-hmm. And any other sort of situation, that we're dealing with, people haven't gotten a raise for the most part in this country. People who have seen their wages increase, what they've also seen is a cost of living increase. So effectively, you don't feel it. It's a wash. Yep. Federal minimum wage still $7.25. So somebody could pay you $7.25.
I can't imagine.
I could not imagine. Yeah.
Where do you feel like the Democrats missed the mark?
Yeah, I feel like Democrats missed the mark in a number of places, right? Like, it's like sort of simple in a way. Like, it just goes back to talking to people.
Yeah,
and I think that we've become a party that isn't necessarily relatable. Like, we haven't been a party that can show up anywhere. And the crazy part is the membership of the Democratic Party. What makes the Democratic Party is truly the makeup of this entire country. And so understand, like, you have a big tent, you got a lot of different issues, a lot of different things to address, a lot of personalities, which is another piece of it.
A whole lot.
But we can, a whole lot, but we can also go back to the money thing, because there was a time where Republicans always had that cash advantage. And so in the funding arms race, in the race to have the most money to effectively run a campaign, in many ways, the quest for those resources has, in many ways, left the operation soulless.
Right.
And you don't have to go too far, right? And you don't have to just walk into a barbershop. You can just be in a neighborhood and talk to people, and they'll tell you right away. When people are saying, and we're at a point where people are saying both parties are the same, which has been the conversation for decades. So we should take note of that.
Yeah.
We should do our best to make a very clear and very real distinction.
Right.
But at the same time, some of the people who are leading, some of the people who are in charge don't care to make that distinction. It's not important, to them, because they have gotten to power because of the amount of money you can raise. And that's what puts you in leadership. And you have to make sure that well continues to run. And making sure that well continues to run too often compromises our integrity. It too often compromises our values. And it too often alienates us from the people that we need to vote for us.
Mm-hmm. So true. It's so true. So I was really proud of Wisconsin with the Supreme Court.
Oh, for sure.
I was like really, really proud. I think everyone was really conscious of what was going on. They didn't want that money, kind of influencing their votes.
Yep.
From Elon.
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you think that showed us, or what do you think there was like anything we could have learned from that process when we're thinking about the state of Wisconsin? Because I feel like it's not a solid state where we're like Democratic or Republican.
Yeah, we can't just assume
right
in either way.
Yeah. So yeah, what do you
lessons
think
we learned from that? And I don't know if they're necessarily our lessons, right? Like, I think Susan Crawford was a great candidate, is going to be a great member of the Supreme Court. I will say, given that there are no certainties in which way our elections go, whether they're partisan or nonpartisan, like the Supreme Court race, the fact is Elon Musk got on stage, made a fool of himself.
Yeah.
If the person who is essentially hijacking the conservative campaign for Supreme Court is firing people at will who work for the federal government, many of which live here in Wisconsin, and it is going to have a ripple effect on families, on communities. I don't know if that's necessarily the best spokesperson. So we do have to understand, what their folly in that Supreme Court race, that was certainly to our benefit, but we can't expect that to happen every time.
Right.
And it's also a judicial race. So it's not like you can get out there and campaign on a bunch of issues and talk about the things that matter. But going into the midterm, we can't just assume that because people are fed up with the way things are going in Washington, D.C., we can't assume because of the very blatant corruption that Donald Trump is involved in is going to be our saving grace. Because as a Democrat, like, I can't say that people believe in us yet to be able to show up, to be able to lead, to be able to meet this moment, to be able to say, no, what is going on in Washington, D.C. Will not be what happens here in the state of Wisconsin. And we need the bold leadership that is going to stand up and take on Donald Trump. And too often we'll say, well, yeah, we want to work with Republicans. It's like, okay, maybe that time will come. But how about if Republicans decided to work with us? Why is it our side that has to concede and say, all right, let's work with them? I open the door to Republicans if they want to work with us. But at this point in time where they have demonstrated a complete disregard for working people in this country, have displayed a complete disregard for science, for higher education, have waged an all-out assault on the media. People who live and contribute to our communities are living in fear of deportation, even if they are here legally. So we know exactly who they are. I can't find a thing within that box where I'm like, all right, we can work with them on that. We need to bring our issues to the table. We need to bring our ideas to the table. And if Republicans are open to expanding healthcare for people, which they should be, because it is their constituents who are feeling a pinch. It is their constituents who are going to lose Medicaid. It is their constituents who are going to lose access to education regardless. So yeah, maybe instead of saying, I'm ready to work with Republicans, maybe it's time to say the door's open for them to work with us, which I'm all for.
And I think sometimes too, from like a person, an average person, kind of like me, looking at all of this.
Average person. We're not going to do that.
I kind of look at all of this and I'm like, where's the accountability part? And I think like, because some of us, and that's what I mean by average, like, I'm not in politics. I vote.
But you are. And that's what.
Okay.
We're going to flip the script on this episode. We're going to flip the script. We're going to flip the script. Because I want people to know that, like, you are the government. Like the show, you have this power that you may not even realize. That doesn't just go for you. That goes for anybody. Is it easy? No. Like, it's very hard. Organizing work is very difficult. But what's also difficult is the way things are going. And we have to ask ourselves the question, is it worth the sacrifice? And I do think it's worth the sacrifice. It has to be. If you are, think about the next generation, if you have kids, if depending on, how old people are, like how young people are, you want things to function properly. You don't want to have to live with this constant fear. You don't want to have to wake up and think about every news alert that's coming across about, how the EPA is going to weaken rules that make your drinking water more contaminated, that make the air you breathe more contaminated. And so to that point, the last thing I want people to think is that they are not the government. You are, you participate, you pay taxes, you show up and you vote for people. And so by doing those things, you are involved in a process. And in one way or another, you are contributing to society. And you should be able to be in a place or find a way to air that grievance.
Yeah.
Did I fix you yet?
Yeah. I think, sometimes I watch like the news and all of this, and I'm seeing what this administration is doing. And sometimes I do wonder, like, well, where are the Democrats? What are they doing? Like,
so that is
and I think
problem.
For me, that's where I'm thinking about like the accountability piece of like, okay, but this feels like this is against our Constitution, or this feels like what I'm hearing on the news, this sounds very illegal. Like, where's the accountability part?
Exactly. And so make no mistake, Republicans in Congress have relinquished any authority. They have handed it back. They have handed it all to the president. All power of the legislative branch and the federal government has essentially been handed to the president. The Supreme Court is doing him every single favor. Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, has sent Congress home for recess before releasing the Epstein files. That's where we are right now, because the president, who is likely in those files, for him to not be embarrassed, for the truth to not come to the light, Congress would rather go home than to do anything that makes this president look bad. That's a scary place. There's not a single
So scary.
there's not a single Democrat I would do that for. If I was the Speaker of the House, there's not a single person I would do that for.
Right.
And so with the accountability piece, Congress, terrible, or excuse me, Republicans in Congress, Donald Trump, and their approval ratings are low. There is no reason that the approval rating for Democrats should be lower. Not in this moment. There's every single opportunity for us to demonstrate leadership. There's every single opportunity for us to push back and show up with a real plan for accountability, to end the president's corruption, to make life better for working people, to be able to create a pathway for folks who are getting into the workforce, for people who are looking to contribute to this country, and to also be able to expand health. Well, we've had opportunities to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. Didn't do it. Had opportunities to pass universal health care. Didn't do it. We took all these passes, and now people are questioning, what is the point of voting for Democrats? And sometimes it is a hard sell for my own party. And I'm just like, well, this time will be different, right? Like I remember going around during my campaign and it's just like, all right, yes, these are the reasons. I'm not running for office. I was never running for office because I thought things were going well.
Right.
I ran because I felt things needed to change. I was never running for office at any point to fly the banner of any political party. It was to do what was right by the things that people have been saying for the last few decades. Since I have been involved in politics, none of it has changed, essentially. The challenges are greater. We have, with seemingly more roadblocks for people to get ahead. Those things have certainly changed, but it has never been about, we need to fight for the party. This is a party that truly represents America, which means that we need to fight for the people, because as broad as this tent is, there's still opportunities for us to expand it. And we also have to consider the people who have drifted away from the tent.
Yes. Yes. So we had this big announcement about Governor Evers, and he's not running.
Yep.
And, we're scared a little bit, I think he's kind of like that person we can kind of count on to win. And just with like everything that's going on right now in the country, we want a governor in Wisconsin that is going to be like, for the people and all of, we have like these Medicaid cuts and just so much going on, just even in our state. The big question I have, and I'm sure other people have, like, are you going to run?
Let me start by saying I am certain Tony would have won, and the forecasters have placed Wisconsin from lean Democratic to toss up right now. I haven't made a decision about running. Having served as lieutenant governor, having been a part of the campaign, they got Tony Evers elected in 2018 as the running mate. Being able to travel this entire state, build those relationships, listen to people, and serving as number two, I was an active part of that administration, and for that, I'm incredibly grateful. I'm still in touch, with the governor. I'm going to see him Monday at a thing. But to that point, I have not made a decision. I thought he was going to run again, which I would have supported.
Yeah.
But I will say, with this new reality, our challenges aren't new. I'll be interested, in hearing how things develop over the next couple months, next few weeks or so, and I'm going to be listening. And I can tell you, whether I run or not, I am going to be involved in this race.
Oh, absolutely.
And whether that's the primary, that remains to be seen. But I am going to have some sort of involvement. I might endorse in the primary if I don't run. We'll see.
Well, I think I can only speak for myself and, the people that I hang out with it. Like, we really hope you run.
Well, I appreciate y'all.
We really, really, really hope. When will we find out? Like, when is like the date that you would need to know if you're running?
There's no solid date.
Okay.
No solid date right now.
Okay.
No solid date.
All right. Well, we'll just
Also,
be waiting around, I guess, finding out.
Yeah, but I will say, on that topic though, I do actually enjoy what I'm doing right now. So a couple things. Power to the Polls, which is my organization that's focused on engaging and mobilizing new and infrequent voters, have raised about $10 million for that program since 2023 to mobilize new and infrequent voters. And we've done an incredible job at doing so. After my race, there were some areas with disappointing turnout, but I didn't sit there and say, "Oh man, why didn't y'all show up to vote?" Like, really, I thought, I thought about what else we could have done better. So I've spent a lot of time trying to be deliberate and very intentional about focusing on the communities that may or may not decide to show up depending on the day, want to ask the questions why, but also want to listen and want to encourage and educate people. An educated populace is an engaged populace. Right. And so we have data that shows in the last spring election that where we were focused, the amount of new voters in the areas where we were, and these are areas where the party wasn't showing up and the campaign wasn't showing up. No, this is not any sort of, it's just not where they were because there weren't a lot of people voting in these areas. And it's a spring election. It's a much different electorate. Where we were focused, the new voters that we got to show up to the polls represented over half of the total new voters statewide. Milwaukee had the highest voter turnout of the 50 largest cities in the entire country. Our organization knocked on over 700,000 doors, and we made contact with over 90,000 people at those doors. We talked to them directly, and we did that work long before the election. So my work in organizing and mobilizing, like I'm fulfilled in doing that work. I have an incredible team that's working. And then Forward Together Wisconsin, which is my organization focused on making sustainable attainable. This is an organization that is dedicated and committed to making sure that Wisconsin hits its 100% clean energy goal in as short a time frame as possible. We've worked with low-income homeowners to be able to weatherize homes. We've been working with people to get solar panels where that works, geothermal systems for heat pumps. And we have a revolving loan fund where, these lower income homeowners, they don't pay a dime out of pocket. We take care of that. We get them the resources they need so that they are able to, enjoy the benefits of lower energy bills through more sustainably sourced energy. And one thing about that too is, a wealthy person, if they're going to get solar panels, as an example, they're going to do it. They can pay for it. Their energy bills are going to be lower as a result. Lower income households don't have those opportunities. And it speaks to so many other challenges and many other dichotomies that we experience where higher income residents will end up paying lower energy costs than lower income residents, which is a wild concept. Right. And we want to get things, back. We want to get things to a place where everybody has the opportunities to save money, to be able to save money, to put money away, and also enjoy life.
Yeah. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Between those two things and like the outcomes that you have, like they're huge goals. And also you've done a lot, like especially talking about the Milwaukee and the voting and the voting turnout. That's very amazing. How do you find time for you in doing all of these things?
Yeah, and all that in addition to raising money for candidates across the country. We've raised a lot of money. We've raised a lot of money.
That's not just Wisconsin.
No. This is all across the country. And this is money that has gone directly to candidates. Wow. We've been able to support them. A lot of young candidates, a lot of non-traditional candidates. Yeah. We took some bets that worked out. Angela also Brooks in Maryland, we got behind her early when, she was facing an opponent that had virtually unlimited money. Ruben Gallego in Arizona when he was going up against an incumbent. You know, I'm just trying to think of the other names right now. They're escaping me, but we've been able to support a lot of folks in their journey to get into political office, people that may have been written off a little bit early on. So my time for me, you know, I like to be on my bike. I like to run. I still run.
Yeah.
Still ride my bike.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, my free time.
Yeah. I see it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Your Instagram is very fun because you're just like, I was saying that to you earlier, like you are running, biking, you're gathering with people within the state. Like you show a lot of the rallies and the different things like that.
Because I'm still traveling the state.
Yeah.
I've been traveling the state since even, you know, since the campaign was over. It never really stopped. Still getting to all corners of Wisconsin.
I love that.
Chatting it up with people, you know, reconnecting with people who've been helpful, people that I've had a chance to work with before. It's been amazing. It's been fun.
You just don't see many politicians, especially if they're not like holding a specific office, still connecting with the people like that and traveling through the state. So I think that is.
Yeah, and that's the other part about it too. Like I had genuine connections. Like I genuinely connected. Like I really want to go back to see, you know, so many of these people, and it's fun. It's always an adventure.
Yeah, always so. I would imagine.
Yeah.
So I mean, we don't know about the upcoming governor race, I guess. What can you share with us that you do know, or maybe what you're thinking about in the future?
So the door is open to running again, for sure. One is because you came so close. You know, it's a 1-point race, and odds were stacked against me from the very start. Prove people wrong in the primary. You know, people question whether we could even pull that out, because I did get outspent in the primary, and
you talk about how much was the outspending.
Yeah, so you know, there were people with, you know, some independent wealth that put, you know, their money in, and it was, you know, a few million dollars for sure that we got outspent by. But you know, we worked, and that's fine. You know, I expected to be outspent. But even in the general, where, you know, we had an unpopular incumbent president, usually in the midterm, that's not a good thing. You know, I think there was a Marquette Law poll that had me down by like 6 points the week before the election.
Wow.
You know, most news outlets had already counted me out, which was a big part of the problem, because I was counted out so early on, where people just sort of internalize and say, oh, well, he's not going to win anyway. Yeah. You know, and one of that's like a tough hill to climb. If people are already under the assumption that it's not going to happen, if people spend so much time saying, well, can he win versus helping me win? If the amount of oxygen that was used to ask, can he win, instead of saying to somebody, he can win. Right. It could have been a different story. Yeah. It could have been a different story. And that's a lesson learned. I was also outspent by $26 million. We were virtually, you know, left to dry right after the primary. Left out to dry. I mean, the $26 million had a very real impact. And
that's more than just a few million.
Well, it's more than just a few million. And to make it plain for people, you know, the governor, the outside spending, this isn't me. Like, as a candidate, I raised the money that I needed to raise.
Wow.
Is the outside spending, the super PACs. I was outspent by $26 million. And on the flip side of things, the governor had a $25 million cash advantage over his opponent. And so when those choices are made, I mean, it's very tough to look and say, well, you know, the governor would say, but is it going to be at the expense of Mandela, right? And so, you know, that does make you think a lot about, you know, do you run again or not? Like, do you show up? And I'm more yes than no, for sure. Like, having put in all that work, the coalitions that we built that still exist today, the people who showed up to donate, we raised more money than anybody ever in the state up until that point. Only person that's raised more money than me in a campaign was Tammy Baldwin. So we have, you know, done the groundwork before, have certainly laid a foundation, and people have already benefited from that foundation who've, you know, run after me.
Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I I'm hoping you run, but
I appreciate you.
We'll be following.
I appreciate you.
We'll be
Please do.
following it. Yes. But yeah, it will be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah.
It's, I think everyone's like just very nervous and,
for sure. People should be nervous,
Yeah.
and nothing is a sure bet, but, people of the state generally like the governor.
Yeah.
People have appreciated his leadership for years. I appreciate his partnership, and I was glad to be a part of that ride with him.
Yeah. It was great.
Yeah.
It was really great. Well, how do this podcast is called Making Progress, right? And so we're always talking about like, how do we define making progress?
Mm-hmm.
And how would you define making progress in politics in Wisconsin? What would that look like?
And it's so simple. It's so simple. I showed up to, ever since I was elected state representative, I used to show up to a lot of schools. And I used to talk to a lot of students. And these are people so often who think that politics is intangible.
Right.
Haven't seen a person who has had their experience be able to be in any elected office, let alone take the time to show up to and talk to them about it. And when you get at least one person in a class that starts to understand, then it's real. Like I remember, like during my campaign, somebody I went to high school with, he texted me on election day to say that he had just gotten off papers and was going to be able to vote for me.
Oh,
you know what I mean? And so, like, it's the stories like that.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's progress for me.
Yeah.
That's progress for me because the people who never saw themselves as a part of the process, the people that think they're just the average person and not the government, like that's who we need the most. You get one person, we've already made a difference.
I love that. Well, cheers to making progress.
Cheers to making progress.
Thank you for tuning in to Making Progress. And special thank you to today's guest, Mandela Barnes, for joining us on this episode. If you enjoyed this conversation, make sure to subscribe to Making Progress on YouTube and follow us everywhere you can listen to podcasts. We're here every other week talking to real people, doing real things, making real progress. This episode was produced by Puente Creative Studios. Until next time, keep making progress.